Hi, this is Erin Hobson with Red Hook Guitar. Today we're going to talk about seventh chords. So we talked a lot about the triads and the triad formulas. That is going to remain the same for all of these seventh chords that we are going to do. They're basically just the triads with an extra note. So remember that when we had the again, here's my C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. When we talked about the major triad, the formula was the root, the major third, and the fifth. So now, when we talk about a major seven chord, we're going to have the root, the major third, the fifth, and the major seven. So, in C, this is pretty easy to visualize. So C would be your root, E would be your major third, G would be your fifth, and B would be your major seven. All right, so when you're talking about the open chords that you already know, like here's C, right? So I'm playing C, E, G, C, E. All you have to do is take your root here. The one that's an octave higher is typically the easier one to maneuver because you want to keep the, unless it's a slash chord, you want to keep the root in your bass too as your lowest note. So you have a C here, but you also have a C here. So I'm going to take that C back to a B, just a half step, and now I have this major seven chord. All right. So you can do that with all of your open chords. So here's D. So here's my higher root here, D. So if I break that back a half step to a major seven, which is C sharp, now I have a D major seven. You can also just play it like that, just all on the second fret. Here's my A. So here's my octave A here, the higher A. I'm just going to bring that back a half step to G sharp, and then I have A major seven, F. Right, so here's my higher octave F here. If I take that back a half step, I have F major seven. Here's G, G major seven. Just bringing the root that's an octave higher back a half step. That's the easiest way to do that. And of course, there's all these jazz voicings that you can learn eventually too. Like here's a G major seven here, where I've got my G, my F sharp, my B, my D. Here's a C major seven here, where I have C, G, B, coming from this barred C, right? So here's my C octave here. If I bring that back a half step, then I have C major seven. This one kind of comes from this barred G here. If I just took this G back to this F sharp, I can have that one. Jazz people usually play it like this without the A string at all. So again, I'm not going to get into like a lot of application of this. This is more for explanatory purposes, but I'll be doing videos later about application. So the major chord, now we have the dominant seven chord. So the dominant seven chord has a major triad, root, major third, fifth, but the difference between a major chord and a dominant seven chord is you have a flatted seven, a minor seven. All right, so if you have, again, looking at this, so you have C is your root, your major third is E, your fifth is G. So if I flat the seven, now I have a B flat, not a B natural. So in the open position of all these, so if I have my C here, here's a B flat here on the third fret of the G string. So there's a C dominant seven, so it's got more of a bluesier sound. Here's my A. So here's my octave A. If I bring that back a whole step now and have that open G string, now I have an A7 chord. Here's my D. If I take my octave D back a whole step and put that minor seven in there, I have a D7, right? So all of these are really closely related to the open chords you already know. So here's G, so here's my octave G. If I bring it back a whole step to a minor seven, I have G7. Of course, you can play these in different positions, in closed position. But again, I don't want to get into like all the different things. I'm just kind of more explaining this in a theoretical way. So minor 7, now you have a minor triad, root, minor third, fifth, and you have a minor 7. So when we look at this from C, we have C. If I flat the third, I have an E flat, G, B flat. So that's my minor 7 chord. All right, so C minor 7, it's a little bit difficult to do in an open position here. But if I took it from a barred position here, where I have C, G, C, E flat, and here's my octave C, I bring it back a whole step, then I have this minor 7 chord. It's easy to do with some of these open chords, like here's D minor, here's my octave D. If I bring it back to the C for a minor 7, I have D minor 7. Here's A minor, here's my octave A. If I bring it back a whole step to open G, I have A minor 7. Here's E minor, here's my octave E. If I bring it back a whole step to open D, I have E minor 7. So those are your minor 7s. So these last two that I'm going to do are really more for jazz. You're not really going to see these as much in rock or pop. Diminished, yes, but minor 7 flat 5, not so much. So minor 7 flat 5, you have a root, minor third, and a flatted fifth. So that's just a diminished triad. And then I'm adding a minor 7. So if I'm looking at this, here's my root, my flatted third, I flat the G, G flat, and I flat the 7, B flat. So C, E flat, G flat, B flat is a minor 7 flat 5. So if we establish that this is a minor 7 here, here's my fifth, G. If I bring it back, that's a minor 7 flat 5. So again, these voicings are going to be more used for jazz. If you're playing a lot of rock and pop and things like that, I mean, they come up in blues too, but you're probably not going to use them as much. So I'm not really gonna show them that much. I'm just going to explain. So then the last one is diminished 7. So you have a diminished triad again, root, minor third, flatted fifth, and this double flatted 7, which is kind of wild. So you'd have C, E flat, G flat, double B flat is really just A, right? Because if you flat, B flat would be in the middle here, and then you have A. So a diminished chord, a diminished 7 chord, this is a C diminished 7 chord where you have C, G flat, A, E flat. If you move it up every 3 frets, it's the same chord, it's the same notes, just a different inversion. So I will be talking about inversions at some point too. But I just wanted to show you too, you probably won't see this unless you're doing a lot of jazz study, but so a major 7 you'll see in jazz notated with a triangle. Dominant 7 is just with a 7 after it. Minor 7 is indicated by this little slash mark. Sometimes you'll see minor 7 flat 5 is a circle with a slash through it. It's also called a half diminished chord because a fully diminished chord has a double flatted 7 in it. So, and when you see diminished, sometimes you'll see it as this little circle after it. So that's just, you know, jazz language there. So 7th chords are used a lot in pop and rock, you know, so you can really just mess around with the major 7s and the dominant 7s and some of the minor 7s. But unless you're really going to study jazz, you know, you're probably not going to get too heavy into the minor 7 flat 5, and you know, diminished you should learn though. So anyway, I'll be doing more videos on more extensions of chords and inversions later. Okay.